So now if you look another type of spectrometer, so you can also have americium 241 Compton spectrometer. So this is low intensity Compton spectrometer. You see earlier we have used 20 curie source, and now here we are talking in terms of 100 millicurie source, right? So further, the energy in case of 20 curie cesium source was 662 keV. That's very high energy. And here, the energy in case of americium 241, that is 59.54 keV. That is the energy of the major line which you are getting from americium 241. Right. So you have low intensity source. That source lies somewhere here, and the radiations, they just come like this. Sample is kept here, and the scattered radiation, they just go like this. And here you have high purity germanium detector, and again you have the preamplifier, and with this preamplifier you have connected high voltage power supply, and then you have the main amplifier, so called the spectroscopy amplifier. Then you have analog to digital converter and multi-channel analyzer, right? So this is the Mylar foil to create evacuation in this chamber. This is port for evacuation, and this is so called the scattering chamber. So this is made of brass actually, and here you have this all around. These bricks are corresponding to lead shielding, right? So this type of arrangement you have, and this we also published in Nuclear Instruments and Method in Physics Research B, that's elsewhere journal. So whenever you make a new instrument, you have to validate the geometry of that instrument just by publishing it in internationally recognized very good journal, so that you need to refer that paper again and again. Now if you come to laboratory view of Compton spectrometers, so this is that laboratory view of 20 curie cesium Compton spectrometer. So what you have is your source is kept somewhere here, somewhere here. So this is the rotatable shutter, and the radiation, incident radiations, they just come like this, and scattered radiation, they just go like this. In back of this one you have high purity germanium detector. So that is one spectrometer, right? And now if you look the 100 millicurie americium 241 Compton spectrometer, so what you have is your source is somewhere here. So incident radiation, they just come like this, and scattered radiation, they just go like this. And here you have this high purity germanium detector. This is the DEVAR, so you can put liquid nitrogen, about 30 liter liquid nitrogen you put in, and then it is just connected with this germanium crystal which sits here, right? And that germanium crystal is cooled at liquid nitrogen temperature just to avoid conduction of transmission of electrons from valence band to conduction band, which leads to the leakage current or dark current in the detector. So just to avoid the spurious pulses in the detection system and noise, so you need to cool this system at liquid nitrogen temperature, right? Then this is the standard electronics. So you have here you have the high voltage power supply, then you have this spectroscopy amplifier, and then you have analog to digital converters, and then you have just display of the spectrum, right? So this is the evacuation port in case of americium 241 Compton spectrometer. In case of cesium, you don't require evacuation because incident energy is very high, so the cross section of incident radiation with the air, that's very small. So if you compare the raw data, say this is the neodymium sample, and this is the FeS2, there was the single crystal actually. So in case of this 5D transition metal, so what you have is, or rare earth metal, what you have, this is the cesium 137 Comptometer, or say Compton spectrometer. So this is the Compton peak, and these are the lower peaks corresponding to shielding material and sample as well, right? And here if you look, this is the elastic peak that is visible here. This is the incident radiation, right? And this is the Compton peak, and then these are the fluorescent radiation, K alpha K beta lines, and this is the high energy side of that americium source. So this is the channel number and this is the intensity, right? So this channel number can be converted into energy scale by calibration source, and then this intensity can be normalized to have the rho Compton profile. So you see the shape of the Compton profile here, it is symmetric. In case of americium 241, this is the symmetric profile, and in case of this cesium, this is asymmetric. So you have higher tail here, and then you have the lower portion here, because you see when you are dealing with the high energy photons, so the detector efficiency that goes down actually. So detector efficiency that goes down like this, so that brings this shape, because you have high efficiency in this region, so the tail is up, and you have low efficiency in this region, so this is down here. While in case of 60 keV, now what you have is you have similar efficiency, so your peak is symmetric peak. So now what you have is, this is basically rho Compton profile, and now this rho Compton is to be corrected for different corrections. So first correction is a background correction, then you have to correct the rho data for the background Compton phenomena. Then what you have is you have to strip the low energy tail of the high purity germanium detector. Then the Compton spectra is to be corrected for absorption correction, Compton cross section correction. There may be multiple scattering, so that you need to correct that part also. So this is the measured profile, and this is the background. So after certain corrections, the final shape that comes like this. So peak becomes sharpen this one after the multiple scattering correction, all the corrections I mean to say. So this is how we get the true Compton profile. So this is the intensity, and this is the still channel number, which can be converted into atomic units, and when you integrate it to the number of electrons, that becomes the Compton profile. So this is that was the experimental part. Now coming to the theoretical part, what you need to do is you need to have the wave function psi, so that you can take the Fourier transform of that wave function, have the wave function in the momentum space, square this momentum space wave function leading to the momentum density, integrate it. So this is what you require. So to generate the electronic wave functions, what you have is you have LCO method that comes through the crystal code. So the crystal code is developed by theoretical chemistry group at University of Torino, Italy. So this anyone can have. So we used crystal 03, now it is crystal 014, 17 like that. So they keep on giving the higher versions. Then you have another package also, that is the full potential linearized augmented plane wave method. So that is incorporated, or it is embodied in the Wien 2K program that is developed by Vienna Group, Austria. So this is so called the Wien 2K. So if you want to see these programs, just go to the Google search, type crystal code for LCO calculations. So you will go to that site, and you can have the details of this program, how to procure this particular program, how to install it, how to run it, what type of calculations you can do. So everything you can find on the website. And then if you put this Wien 2K FPLAPW method in Google search, again you can go to that particular site of Wien, and then you can see the potential of this band structure calculation package. So these two packages are very good packages, and those who are interested in theoretical calculations of electronic structure, density of states and other parameters, or some structural parameters, or optical properties, then you can go to such programs. So these programs themselves are leading to good research, to you run the program and for different materials and publish good papers. So that is also possibility that you can have excellent publication just on the basis of these two programs or one program. If I talk about LCO calculation, this is based on density functional theory. So the electronic properties, basically they are talked in terms of electronic density. All the electronic optical properties, they can be derived from the electron density. So that those are the functional of electron density, I mean to say. So that is the density functional theory, right? So here what you need to do is, if you talk about the LCO method, linear combination of atomic orbitals method, so in that case the crystalline orbitals, they are treated as linear combination of Bloch functions. So this is the Bloch functions, so take the linear combination of those. So these are the crystalline orbitals or wave functions, and these Bloch functions, they can be obtained from the linear combination of atomic orbitals. So what you have is, you have the atomic orbitals, take the linear combination of them, have the Bloch functions, and then atomic orbitals are linear combination of certain Gaussian type functions. So those are the basis sets. Basically you start from the Gaussian type wave functions and find out the AOs, and from those AOs you find out the Bloch functions. So this is how this LCO calculation goes. You can also find the electron density. So for electron density you have summation of all those wave functions, right? So this is the theta is the step function, right? EF is the Fermi energy. So this is the electron density, and this electron density in real space, that can be converted into electron density in momentum space, and then you can find out the Compton profile also. So from this package you can find out Compton profile. If you remember, the DFT theory that was given by Cohen and Sham. So in this case the total energy, that is E, that is sum of different components. So you have the kinetic energy of non-interacting electrons, and then you have the external potential due to nucleus. So you have nucleus electron potential, and then you have electron Coulombic potential, and then you can have exchange and correlation potential. So you try different exchange and correlation potentials and try to basically calculate this energy, and from this energy solve the Schrodinger equation, have the wave function, right? So this EXE can be derived on the basis of Hartree-Fock calculations. You have the local density approximations, where you have just free electron like density. Then you have generalized gradient approximation, where the electron density is having certain gradients, and then you can have higher order of the gradients in the GGA, so called the second order GGA. So these are some standard calculations which you can have, standard prescriptions which you can have. So in case of FPL-APW method through Wien-2K code, so basically what you do, your unit cell, that is divided into two parts. One is Muffin-Tin sphere and another is the interstitial region. So this is the Muffin-Tin sphere, and this is the interstitial region. So you have the division of the unit cell like just like this. So what you do is, so in case of Muffin-Tin, inside the Muffin-Tin sphere you have Bessel functions type wave function, and you have oscillatory wave function, and outside the Muffin-Tin sphere you have plane wave type situation. So this is how your potential is designed, right? So now if I come to the application of Compton scattering in couple of materials, so what we have is the first material which I am showing you, that is the Compton profile of RuO2, right? So performance of PBE-SOL exchange correlation approximation. So this is a particular type of exchange correlation approximation, how it performs in deriving the electronic properties, optical properties, and Compton profiles of RuO2. So that is published in Journal of Alloys and Compounds. So if you see the unit cell is having a structure like this. Now if you see the Brillouin zone corresponding to this unit cell, so you have this gamma point, then you have X point, then you have this R point, then you have Z point, then you have this A point, and from this gamma point you can just go like this, M point. From M point you can go to this A point, and from A point you can go to Z point. You see, whenever you talk in real space, you talk the unit cell like this, but when you talk about the momentum space, you talk in terms of Brillouin zone, first Brillouin zone, second Brillouin zone. So basically this is just like unit cell in the momentum space. So in different structures, what you have is you have different notations, and these are very standard notations. So center of this Brillouin zone, that is designated by the gamma, and then you have different directions, and in different directions you have different notations. So whenever you find the allowed energy of states, you deal in the different directions. So how electronic states may be possible in different directions, that leads to the energy bands. Now if I come to those directions, this is gamma x, r, z, and then again gamma to a, m to a, and a to z. These are the directions. So in these directions you can find out what type of situation is there. You see, this is the EF is scaled to 0. The Fermi level is scaled to 0, and then you can have different energy allowed states. So this is the energy level is just showing about minus 20 eV. So this is corresponding to core electrons or the intermediate electrons, right? That you can find out which electrons are there. And then you have the allowed energy state. Whenever I say allowed energy states, means this gamma to x, I can have only the energy in this range. Then I can have energy in this range. So this is degenerate state here. From x to r, I can have allowed energy like this. If I move from x to r, the allowed energy of the electrons, I mean to say. So below this EF, you have the valence level, right, and above this one you have the conduction level. So valence level or valence bands, they are occupied, and these are the unoccupied energy bands. There is way to designate these bands. So if it is Z point, so this is Z18. If it is R point, this is R25. So you just count those bands like this, right? Now corresponding to these bands, you can see the density of states. So wherever you have more energy bands, or they are just overlapping, right? So then you will have more electron density at those points, and accordingly you will have sharp features there. You will have high amplitude of the density of a state. So this density of a state means that is a number of electrons in a particular energy. So dN by dE, right? So now what you have is, if I talk about Ru, it can have 4d electrons. So you have different this Eg and T2g electrons. So how Eg electrons are behaving. So if I talk at particular energy level, then I can just find out, okay, which electron corresponding to this one, and which electrons or which energy levels they corresponding to this one, right? So you see, this is a metal-like material, metallic situation is there, RuO2, there is no. Now what we do is, in this particular slide, you have different LCO models like Hartree-Fock, DFT-LDA, local density approximation, then you have DFT-SOGGA, then you have PB-SOL approximation. So these, as I told you earlier, local density approximation, SOGGA, and then PB-SOL or Hartree-Fock, they are basically corresponding to different exchange and correlation potentials. So in case of Hartree-Fock, you don't have the correlation potential, that only deals with the exchange potential. And similarly, in local density approximation, SOGGA, you have different kind of approximations which just try to model the correlation and exchange potentials, right? Now what we do is, we just calculated the theoretical Compton profile using different approximations, and took difference between theory and experiment. You have the experimental Compton profile for RuO2, and then you have the theoretical profile corresponding to different models. So if you see the difference profiles, theory minus experiment, you see this theoretical profile has to be convoluted with the instrumental resolution of the experiment, right? So that your broadening effects are incorporated in the theory. So once you take the difference between the convoluted theoretical profile and experiment, then the shape of that difference, that comes like this. So you see Pz in this direction, that is the momentum, linear momentum of electron along the z-axis, and then this is delta J, this is the difference. So these theories, they are showing differences like this. So here you can see this DFT PB-SOL, that gives better agreement that also on based of chi-square fitting. This gives the better agreement with the experimental profile, which clearly depicts that in materials like RuO2, what you have is you have very good approximations using exchange and correlation potential corresponding to Purdue, Becke, Herrnfels exchange correlation potential, that is for solids, so that is solved, right? So this is just limited region. In the inset what you have is you have up to 1 AU, so you have just up to 1 AU. So if you amplify this region, so you can clearly see here that your DFT-PV, so that shows better reconciliation with the experimental data. So on this basis of this difference, you can just validate the type of exchange and correlation potential for particular type of material. So similarly, you can study whatever material you want, you just study that material, have the experimental Compton profile, calculate the Compton profiles using band structure calculations, and just plot difference between theory and experiment. So this is how it is useful technique.